Welcome to New Friends Cinema,
where we get to know each other by sharing our favorite movies.
From childhood throwbacks to recent comforts, we walk through the stories together.
Keep in mind this podcast contains mad spoilers, and join us at the
New Friends Cinema.
Hello and welcome back to New Friends Cinema.
I'm Dakota.
And I am Courtney.
And we're so excited to be here.
It's the second episode.
Oh my gosh. And I watched this movie two full days ago, almost 3 days ago, on Thursday. And I have been bursting at the seams to talk about it just to anybody. I actually called my friend yesterday and we just chatted about it.
Really? Okay, you got it all out.
Because I was just like,
yeah, don't talk to me about it. You got to save it. Yes, it's been a really exciting couple days because it's been like watching the movie, making the notes, and I'm in the script chair today because it is my movie. Mm-hmm. It is a beautiful winter wonderland outside today.
It's gorge.
There are a couple things that always hit me once it actually snows here in general. One, snow is beautiful, but it is incredibly slippery. That I always forget how slippery snow is.
Well, it's work, right? Now it's like it's work every time you want to leave the house. Like, it's heavy. I just got the work out of my life shoveling.
Yep, we both shoveled to get out.
You know, you're in all-wheel drive, and even like Prob was talking to me on the phone yesterday when he was walking between work. And he was like, my hips hurt.
Yeah,
because you're like
bracing.
You're the first like month of the winter. You're just like getting hip cramps because you're like clenching like so much more.
You gotta get your sea legs, your snow legs back.
Yeah.
You know, I have these little crampon thingies that I throw on my boots because here the hills are nutso. They are so steep and scary. And
Our
snowy.
town is fully on the side of a mountain.
Yeah.
So anytime you want to walk anywhere, you're hiking. Yeah. They don't clear the residential sidewalks or anything at all. I too have crampons. Mine are like steel, like or whatever. They're intense, but yeah, it's a game changer to have that for sure. Go on.
Should we start?
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Okay. Dakota is vibrating. She's ready to go
because I never seen this movie before.
Okay.
And honestly, if it weren't for this, I never would have seen this movie because I'm an adult and I don't have kids in my life, and I don't like sit down and seek out kid movies to watch.
This.
And unless it's something that I grew up with and I'm feeling nostalgic and I want to watch it.
Hence the whole essence of our podcast.
Yes. So okay. You go.
So I cannot recall, this goes to show how much a week can do for my memory, but I cannot recall whether or not we revealed the name of the movie.
We haven't. Nobody knows except us.
Drum roll, please. I picked from my pool of sticky notes, Harriet the Spy.
Harriet the Spy.
Harriet the motherfucking Spy. This movie had a death grip on me as a kid.
It had one on me this Thursday. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, so this movie was a significant go-to watch for me as a kid for multiple reasons, but particularly in the time of like mid to late 1990s movies for kids, we were just saturated with Disney princesses, right? Mm-hmm. And this movie, a Nickelodeon movie.
The aesthetic?
Oh, Brooklyn. This story and the main character, and we'll get into all of that in a minute, but it really gave kids an opportunity to see a different version of a young female protagonist. This category definitely falls under strange kid category, odd kid, unique kid. I think one of the characters in the movie calls the main character an individual, which is like such a polite way of saying weird. The main character, Harriet, she defies social norms and she gets herself into some trouble, but she has to hold the weight of her choices and the reality of that. And you know, going through experiences of being outcast, misunderstood, this like main character movie saga of like the Matilda, the Secret Garden, Mary Lennox, you know?
Well, she's also in that place of coming from being fully just a child and going through puberty and the reality of, you know, the repercussions of your actions, that it's not all just a game and, words hurt and all that. But I don't know I do know what I was expecting. I was expecting a child heist movie. I was expecting it to be like really silly and really fun and maybe some goo.
Yeah.
And there was goo.
It is a Nickelodeon movie.
I was really shocked by the depth of this movie, like how there were parts where my adult stomach was turning. Yeah. I felt sick watching it. Like they really used everything at their disposal to like tell this story in a really like powerful way.
So thoughtful. And as an adult rewatching this, because this used to be on repeat in my house when I was a kid, but rewatching this as an adult, there's so many things that I did not pick up on. Obviously, there's some really wonderful life lessons in this movie that I think are going to be really fun to unpack today.
And yeah, not all the way, but to an extent, she deserved it.
We are going to get into natural consequences for shitty behavior. I also want to let you know that I was so obsessed with this character that I reenacted so much of this movie. I had the tool belt. I had the notebook. I had the jacket.
What kid didn't have a spy tool belt? I did, and I never saw the movie. I had made my own fingerprinting kit to fingerprint around my own house because I lived in a small town. We didn't have anyone to spy on except for our own parents. So...
Okay, so let's dive into the details of this classic movie, Harriet the Spy. So this movie was released in 1996 with a star-studded adult cast.
The first note on my list of notes is Eartha Kitt, legend.
Excellent.
That's
okay,
it.
Great.
So Eartha Kitt's in it.
Eartha Kitt's in it. At the time, I think it was a relatively unknown child actress at the time. Michelle Trachtenberg. I'm pronouncing that wrong. I know her from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the character Dawn, but you know her from something else, right?
From a very small character arc on Gossip Girl.
Yeah. Rosie O'Donnell.
Oh, as a child, I loved Rosie O'Donnell so much. She had a TV show,
a fun one.
I would always watch Rosie with my mom because it was her, and then I think it was Oprah after. Mm-hmm. So I would watch Rosie, and she had a section that was cutie patooties, and it was just like pictures of kids.
Yeah.
She also I had a VHS that was like a cartoon. It was shorts, and it was called Kids Say the Punniest Things.
Nice.
So it was hosted by Rosie O'Donnell, and then it was like stories told by kids turned into cartoons.
Right.
I don't know. I had that, and I watched it a million times.
Nice.
I loved it. Anyway, I really loved her as a kid.
And from what I remember, her talk show was genuinely playful and kind. And of course, perhaps I'm looking at it through nostalgic rose-colored glasses because it was also the 90s. So
I think everything was rose-colored at the time.
Yeah.
Like that kind of, coffee shop.
Yeah.
Like brownish gold. Oh, burnt sienna.
So then we have Gregory Smith, who plays Simon Sport Rock.
I felt like I recognized him.
He was in a bunch of movies. I think he was also in, what was that one movie where the toys came alive? Not Toy Story, but where the toys came alive and there was like a military fleet and an alien fleet. Small Soldiers.
Yes.
We both had a brainwave.
Oh, frick. I loved that movie. That was one of my brother's picks on Family Movie Night.
Classic.
Yeah.
Really good.
So good.
And then one of my favorite child actresses, Vanessa Lee Chester, who plays Janie Gibbs, but she's also known for her work in The Little Princess.
I don't know that I ever saw that. What's The Little Princess?
I will not tell you anything more because it might be in my hat. And
The Little Princess, no, I don't.
This actress, the main, I guess, kid character of the ultimate classic, The Lost World, Jurassic Park. Do you remember her in that?
Oh, yeah. That's number 2.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Number 2.
She's Jeff Goldblum's daughter.
Yep.
Yeah.
The gymnast, the sassy kind of latchkey kid. I saw her in the movie for this episode, and I was like, oh my God, I've loved her in every one of these movies, but I didn't know it was the same person.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other people, like we already mentioned, Eartha Kitt, classic icon.
I love her cameo. It's so crazy.
So minimal,
and
actually.
If you don't know who Eartha Kitt is, she was the original Catwoman, but she was Yzma in Emperor's New Groove.
Yes.
She is a fantastic voice actress.
You would recognize her voice instantly.
She was the grandma of Zero in Holes.
Yes. pulling out all the good little nuggets. So this was actually a book, and I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The screenplay was adapted from Louise Fitzhugh's 1964 novel of the same name.
Oh, 1964.
I know. And I did a little bit of research about the movie beforehand. Essentially, the director, Bronwyn Hughes, said that they wanted to follow the story pretty closely, but adapted a lot of the adult-child relationships to be a little bit more 1990s versus 1960s.
Sure.
And the director Bronwyn Hughes is also known for their directing work on Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. So I thought that, again, very interesting filmography for our directors in this podcast.
2 other things I have never seen.
Really? Me neither.
No.
I maybe watched a couple episodes of Breaking Bad.
I don't like heavy stuff, really. Like, I don't know.
Good thing we're watching kids' movies. Yeah. Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so the movie opens to our main character, Harriet M. Welsh, hiding in a fruit stand in the streets of New York. She is seen making observations about her neighbors as they walk around in the downtown street markets, and which I'm pretty sure is Brooklyn. And the quote, "I learn everything I can, and I write down everything I see." We learn through her narrative that she takes notes on everything in her environment to help practice so she can be a writer one day. This is why I'm a spy.
And she's already talking about Gully, right?
Oh, yeah.
And at the beginning, as someone who's never seen this, I'm like, who's Gully? Like, who is that? Her imaginary friend? Her dead grandpa? Like,
and so there's just like a scene of, a bustling neighborhood in New York. She's taking notes. And then we like flash to school where she is sitting on the front steps with her friends, making a DIY friendship tattoo that they called Blood Buddies, which I think is so cute. We just really get to see the dynamic of like their playfulness, their humor. They're definitely like oddballs. Yeah, I just really think their friendship really shines through in this one scene.
And then there was the part where they're like, and remember, if anyone sees the tattoo, and then they all say at the same time, "Swift and painful death," which I thought was so funny. Swift and painful. I don't know. Usually it's painless. So I was like, that's
swift and painful death.
Hilarious.
And then we're introduced to the villain of the movie, which I have a little side note, little footnote. Like, is she the villain or is Harriet the villain?
Harriet's the villain. But also the Mean Girls, I was like, why are they dressed like they're wearing school uniforms?
Yes.
They go to public school.
Yes.
Those girls would have been bullied at my school.
Oh.
Like, not to be, I don't condone bullying, but
we do not condone bullying on this podcast.
It's ridiculous. Like,
except if it's deserved. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
Okay. Just with each other. But we're introduced to perhaps the antagonist, let's say, Marion Hawthorne, where all 3 kids have this really funny moment of enduring the Hawthorne effect, where they're like throwing up and like gasping for air, just like so dramatic. And in the voiceover, we hear Harriet say that she goes into like some really hard observational truths about her peers. Like, she just goes through them like a roster. We're introduced to her rest of her classmates, and she's using words like pathetic, commenting on how people look, all factual perhaps or observational. She even said that she would hang herself if she were one of her classmates, which is fucking grim.
Purple Socks Boy.
Oh, we're going to come back to Purple Socks Boy.
Also, the romantic girl, there was one of the girls she opened her locker and it was all heartthrobs.
Yes.
It was Shane from Boy Meets World was in her locker.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
and
so
I can't,
classic.
Hunter.
Well,
Sean, no,
that's his name in the...
Sean is his name in Boy Meets World.
In the show, yeah.
Sean Hunter, yeah.
And that girl, Harriet said, someone should kick her and get it over with. Right?
Yeah.
Like, really, really blunt observational statements about her peers.
But that girl, in my humble opinion, has pretty good taste.
Great taste.
Yeah, because gorgeous.
We learn quickly that there is a 6th grade class president election coming up. And Harriet and her enemy, Marion, are the 2 primary candidates. And they are both vying for that role hardcore because it's also the editor of their class or grade, like, school newspaper.
Yeah.
I think it's their class newspaper, which is like
That's
super intense
lot of work. Yeah.
for like an 11-year-old. And you can feel the hatred between these 2. They are side-eyeing. They are mean mugging each other. There is spiteful hate. Marion wins.
Yeah, and for the third year in a row. Make that make sense.
Yeah. This is slowly we'll discuss Marion's dictatorship real soon, but she definitely has a bit of a grip on the social aspects of her class. Like, she has a lot of sway, a lot of power, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I think she's rich, right?
Yeah,
but like a lot
Harriet's
of kids
also
rich.
rich.
She's rich. Yeah.
It's kind of like that classic story trope of this is the mean one, and we all hate her. Mm-hmm. The group talks about poisoning her, which I think is hilarious and also super dark. And we learn that Janie is a bit of a mad scientist. She loves to experiment. She loves to play with mold. Combustibles is a word that's used a bunch of times in this movie. But eventually it's spy time, and Harriet has to peace out because she's got to go spy on some people. So we see this like montage of prepping all of her gear. We see like a pocket mirror, binoculars, rubber gloves, flashlight.
What's that one that goes, that's like the circle and you hold it?
A magnifying glass?
Yeah.
The classic spy tool. And like this scene, it's so iconic because we all created a version of this.
Totally.
We feel it in our bones when we see her getting ready.
When I wasn't playing with my homemade DIY spy kit, it was my magic kit.
What? I am gobsmacked. You were a magic kid?
For about 15 minutes, for sure.
Which is usually how long those kits last.
Yeah.
You're like, oh.
It's harder than it looks. Yeah.
We're trying to practice not laughing in the mic. And I am like, right into the microphone.
Yeah.
This little kid just goes roof hopping. I just find so absurd as an adult being like, how the fuck did you get up there?
Yeah. Her first stop is at the guy with a million cats.
Also, looking into my future, I love this man dearly.
He's talking to all the cats by name.
Yeah.
And I noticed that one of the cats' name was Jelly Roll.
Oh.
And I also, hold up, because I also noticed he's like kind of singing and he's very like jazzy and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you know what Jelly Roll means?
Oh no. No.
Jelly Roll is actually, it started in the 19th century, but it's still used by like jazz musicians, and like if you listen to a lot of Van Morrison, you'll hear it.
Okay.
It's slang for a vagina.
Oh my.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, watching these movies as adults, like some of these Disney movies we rewatch, there's like penises, the word sex written in like the clouds.
Yeah.
Like there are adults just taking a piss out of these kids' movies by just throwing these things in there.
I think it's taking the piss, but
did I say taking a
piss? Yeah, whatever. It's
I'm
the
not
same.
Gonna correct myself.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take a piss. Yeah, I called him the cat scat guy,
and he definitely, cat scat. He definitely knows what Jelly Roll means.
Yeah,
like that's
definitely
on purpose.
I wrote here that the health department is the real villain of this movie, and we'll get into the reasons why.
And well, I don't know. He has like 19 cats, right? Or like something crazy.
There's a lot
number.
of cats there,
but and also like the room is dark.
Mm-hmm.
He's alone. I'm like, I don't know if this guy is the happiest guy in the world. Like might be a hoarding issue.
Just because he's scatting doesn't mean he's a happy man.
Yeah.
Just
you made that
work.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the next scene, we cut to the legend, Rosie freaking McDonald. Jesus. Rosie freaking McDonald. And we are introduced to Harriet's nanny, Gully.
Hey.
And this woman, she is full of one-liners, nuggets of wisdom.
Very wise.
Very wise.
Very eccentric.
Kind of cryptic here and there. But she very clearly loves Harriet.
Oh,
and
totally.
Harriet loves her.
Yeah. It's...
They love each other.
Yeah. I understand why the mom's jealous.
Gully takes the kids, so Harriet and her two friends, Sport and Janie, they go to this like fun upcycled garden of art and fun, which I thought was like the best thing as a kid.
I wrote down a Gully quote.
Oh, please share.
And I don't remember exactly from when it's from. It might actually be, right when they got to the upcycled place.
Yeah.
And she says, knowing everything won't do you any good unless you use it to bring beauty into the world. There are as many ways to live as there are people in this world, and each one is worth a closer look. So that's when they're like standing at the fence looking, and they're like, what is this?
What is this?
Yeah.
Garbage as art?
Yeah.
And Gully is just dropping beautiful truth poetry bombs. She grabs like a bottle of pop, and she like starts to shake it, and kind of like champagne, it's like spraying everywhere, and she says that everybody makes a wish and takes a shot of pop, essentially. And Harriet's wish was, I want to see the whole world and write down everything.
Yeah, and the other kids' wishes were like kind of cute and like a little lighthearted, but Harriet got like got really intense. And those kids went absolutely feral in that lady's garden.
They did.
It was they're climbing all around, like they're just
rolling around in ties and
nuts,
making music. It was, and as a kid watching that, it was magic. I wanted to be there.
And you know that old hippie, she hosts a lot of raves.
Oh, there's so many people doing drugs in that garden when the kids are not there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, and so eventually everybody goes home, and we find out that Gully has been in Harriet's life since she was born. And they discuss back and forth how one day Gully will eventually have to leave. And we also get a little bit of a glimpse into Harriet's like home life. Her parents are very rarely home.
They're absent for sure. And that was something too about I was like, I get why the mom's jealous, but also like she's not even trying.
No,
like,
no.
You can't,
they're constantly working.
What do you expect?
Constantly
She's
partying.
Totally bonded to this woman.
Of course, right? Like that, it's her primary attachment figure. And certainly she's often alone or with Gully.
We're not going to skim past the sandwich, are we?
No, I'm literally thinking about how to transition into the tomato sandwich. I'm like, tomato sandwiches with mayo every day for the last 5 years?
The next thing on my note on my... Yeah, so she's in the kitchen with her parents as we're seeing her home life and stuff. And she's making her lunch for school. And she's got this butter knife that she absolutely just smashes a tomato with.
Yeah.
Slaps it on a piece of Wonder Bread. This sandwich was rough for me. I love tomatoes. I really love tomatoes. When I was a kid, I used to eat them like apples.
Yeah.
But I don't like mayo. I really don't like mayo at all. I am not a white spread gal. I'm a mustard person.
Really?
All right?
Okay,
yeah. So it was really hard. Like, I was like, whoa, watching her slap that amount of mayo on there. But then the mom's suggestions were like, she was like, what about cream cheese and olive?
Yum.
Yummy. And it's like, you know what? Given the choice, I guess I'm going tomato, but yeah, I'm like, I'm queasy talking about it.
Yeah. Somebody called Child Protective Services on this family because that lunch. I'm a double mayo kind of gal.
Are you?
And mustard. I put them together.
I don't like, that's too wet. It's too wet.
I like a wet sandwich, Dakota.
Yeah, no. I like mustard, maybe some like Italian, like a oil and vinegar situation.
Yep.
I'm a fruit and meat person, so I will put jam on a sandwich.
You
like
cannot.
a ham sandwich.
What? I wish you could see my face right now. I am disgusted.
I hate mayo, but I will eat grape jelly on a ham sandwich. I don't think that's weird.
Garbage. You eat garbage.
But
jam is allowed with peanut butter.
Very complex palate, okay?
Fair enough. No judgment, but maybe a little.
There are people out there that would agree with me.
Please let us know.
Yeah, email us at newfriendcinema@gmail.ca.
Jelly and mustard kind of gal together.
Yeah.
We now kind of follow Harriet in her after-school spy routine. She's spying on the cat scat guy. She's spying on like the family-owned like market bodega style store.
Yeah, it's like a Chinese grocery.
Yeah.
They have like Chinese medicine ingredients, right? There's grandpa's getting like the cupping done in the middle of the
acupuncture in the back room. Yeah. And she's kind of like watching a clerk in the back steal some food, and she's just like, some people. But we will revisit this guy.
She's ready to investigate.
She is, and she has her opinions, but she's all about collecting dem facts. She loves to write what she sees. The movie is a series of main plot points, and then cutting to like her spy circuit. So we have like the main plot of basically her life and what she's going through, and then we cut back and forth from her like jumping over rooftops and stuff, spying on people. So now we're back at home, and we see Harriet in the tub, keeping her tattoo dry and not letting it wash off, which is so sweet. And Gully and Harriet are kind of chit-chatting, but Harriet hears her parents arguing downstairs. And we kind of get the impression that this happens quite frequently.
Yeah.
And
what does the dad do? Is he a comedian? He's a stand-up comedian?
I literally wrote that Gully explains that her parents fight because her dad has a high-pressure job as a comedian.
Oh, she says that he's a comedian.
A comedy writer. Oh, that's what she says.
I missed that, but I was like listening to what he was saying about the jokes and stuff, and I was like, what?
But like, I was watching this as a kid.
So what, does he work for SNL?
Well, I don't know, but as a kid, like the way that they were fighting, I thought he was like the president of the fucking states. Because he's like, I've got shit to do.
Yeah, I know. And then it's like,
settle. Okay. Well, fair. I've never been a comedy writer.
High pressure for sure. I can't even imagine SNL. I'm assuming now he's an SNL writer.
It's New York.
Yeah.
He's an SNL writer.
Yeah.
That's it.
That is high pressure. And that's long hours.
Long hours. Barely sees his family. Goes to a lot of parties at night.
Yes. At night as opposed to
day parties. Which are my preferred time to party.
Hello, getting day drunk and being at home in bed by 8 p.m. Sober. Love it.
I think that's one of the main things that you and I connected on, being like, okay, we're done drinking now. I'm going to go home and sleep. Goodbye.
Okay, goodbye.
I like roll down the hill because I live a block away.
Yeah.
So
you could actually sled home now.
I could.
Toboggan.
Oh, crazy carpet?
To your house, yeah.
That's dangerous. Didn't we just talk about how snow is slippery? Someone was cross-country skiing yesterday to work. I was like, God, we live in a mountain town.
Yeah.
Okay. So we then kind of cut to after bath time. Harriet's in her PJs, and Mom asks Harriet if she wants to have her tuck her in. And Harriet casually says, Golly will tuck me in. And Mom looks disappointed. She looks gutted.
I have this on here, too, that there was real sadness on Mom's face. She's really, like, I think maybe... I think it's been building, obviously, for a long time.
Yeah,
but these are your decisions, right? You make. So you shouldn't expect anything else. But I can't even imagine. That's very sad.
Yeah. And people have nannies all the time. It is a form of privilege, I would assume, because you have to pay someone. Yeah. Hopefully. But it is a reality for a lot of parents, kind of like sharing responsibility of raising kids. And I can imagine it's quite difficult to kind of come to terms with that you may not know your kid as well as your nanny does. And that's not the case for everybody. But in this situation, Harriet's mom is feeling...
Well, they're extremely absent, though, right? Like, I think that probably in a lot of real-world situations, there's balance. Right? Or, like, my sister spent a summer being an au pair. Yeah. And she spent time with the kids, but the parents were also always around and they were doing shit as a family.
And there's like an educational component too for a lot of these nannies. But like for Harriet's situation, if Golly was not there, she would be the epitome of the latchkey kid.
For sure.
So we flash to another night where Harriet's parents are at a very fancy adult party and Golly is making dinner and the doorbell rings. And it's the veggie thief from that one spy scene. And Harriet's like, is this a date? The dinner scene is quite sweet because Golly clearly is like very happy with this guy, makes her giggle and smile.
He's very funny. He's got a great personality.
Yeah.
When I first saw him showing up he had a pineapple with like a bow on it. And he looks about 15 years older than her.
Yeah.
I was like,
what is this?
She could do better. Like, I don't know. But once I got to know him, I was like, oh, he's great.
Yeah, he's sweet. He's quirky. He's funny.
So that's on me. That's on me. But.
Yeah. First impressions are not always right.
I was like, I guess that's quirky. I guess that's the kind of thing Golly would like. I'm a flowers girl, personally. Or wine. Wine's good.
Yeah.
A pineapple. Those are $6.
That's work.
In today's money.
Yeah.
And he got that free.
Right, because he stole it.
Anyway.
But this entire scene at the dinner table was quite sweet. They do like a little stare down. But the soup scene also really killed me as a kid because she's like slurping this soup up. And then she goes, good soup. And my sister and I would reenact that every time we had soup. Every time.
I'm sure your parents loved that.
Oh, 100%. Somebody stole my manners, she says.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
So subtle.
She challenges him on his work, his employment, and she's like, you're a delivery boy, shouldn't you be a delivery man?
By now I really almost died at that part. That was like, so funny.
Okay, you are just spitting your facts, you're just spitting your observations left, right, and center, girl. No filter. We quickly find out the dinner's burned though.
The bratwurst
and Veggie Guy and Harriet convince Golly to go out for dinner and a movie. So Golly protests at first, but she's like, well, what about the Welshes? They'll be upset. It's Harriet, or I can't remember if it's Veggie Guy or Harriet goes, they're never home.
Well, it would have been Harriet because he doesn't.
It's fine.
I would hope that he doesn't know that they're never home.
It's casing the joint. So now cue an adorable movie date scene where all three of them are laughing, having fun, watching the movie. It's very family-like, right?
Yeah.
And something Harriet does not get to have consistently because her parents are always away. But there are these two adults who are really spending their time with Harriet.
I liked when they're in the cinema and then they switch seats so she can be in the middle, and then they're romantically eating popcorn kind of behind her. Yeah. And
really
I
cute.
thought that was really sweet. Yeah.
So the fun has to come to an end. So they go home.
And the movie, it was Matahari, right?
I did not catch that.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's an old movie.
It was black and white. So
yeah. They get home and the parents are already home.
Oh,
Mom is
goodness,
frantic,
freaking out.
I have a lot of thoughts on this part. Mm-hmm. The first one being that Gully could have left a note.
True.
Like
this is before texting and stuff like that. Being like,
we used to leave notes all the time on
easy.
The kitchen counter. You know, gone doing this with this person. Back at this time. It's not, you know.
It was like a total slip of the mind on her part, which apparently is
they're assuming they're going to be super late, which is fair, I guess, but I don't know. Sorry, my second thought, can I say?
Yeah.
Gully has to live at the house.
Yeah.
I assume she lives there. She's there all the time.
Yeah.
Take care of the kid constantly.
Cook, clean.
24/7.
Yeah.
And she's not allowed to leave the house with the kid.
Right?
That makes no sense to me. Like,
she is...
If you're, like, this is her entire life. She can't
trust her enough to know what she's doing to if she were to leave the house, you trust her with literally your daughter's life at all times and the house. Like, if they're not there, obviously leave a note.
And they got back early too. Like, yes, it was dark, but how late really was it? They left at dinner time. Mm-hmm. The old movies, you know,
maybe 2 hours.
Yeah, like what is it, 9:00?
Yeah,
like.
But
anyway,
the mom is furious, frantic. After 11 faithful years of loyal labor and love for her family, she is fired. Like that, like
on the spot.
On the spot, you are fired.
And the dad's like, whoa.
Overreaction.
But it was also totally, and then because then Gully's like, okay,
yeah,
and then the mom's like, whoops,
yeah, like I didn't mean it. Yeah, like Gully shockingly agrees to leave, and the parents are like, what the fuck? We weren't serious.
Just like. Okay, well then don't be so fucking dramatic.
This whole scene escalated so quickly.
Well, I do feel like that's been bubbling for a while with the mom. Like, she's really, obviously this has been building up, and she's been feeling like she's being replaced so, you know, I feel like it was really just the straw that she could use as her excuse to, you know, she's exploding in that way,
And I think everybody was shocked when Gully said, sure, fine, I agree. Because when we flash to the scene where they're all kind of like having a little bit more of a realistic conversation about this, and Harriet's eavesdropping, kind of hiding on the stairs.
Spying,
yes. And Gully sticks to her gun. She's like, Harriet is ready to take care of herself. But is she? Like, or is it more so you are ready to step up and be her parents?
Yeah, this is not about Harriet at this point. I don't think this is about the adults.
Yeah. And this is a massive, massive blow to Harriet.
Well, the whole movie changes at this point too. Like, when Gully is there, like, it's everything is right in the world. Like, she has the support. She has someone telling her that it's okay who she is. Even the coloring of the movie to me feels warmer when Gully's there in that first time.
This is sad. This is very hard for Harriet because this massive change of routine, massive change of what safety and belonging and feeling loved at home, taken care of at home is going to be very different. And my question here is, like, are her parents actually capable? Like there's going to be some steep learning curve here and some adjusting to do because Gully did a lot. And then this line really stood out for me. It was just like, just because you're on your own doesn't mean the world stops turning, which I thought was really profound.
Yeah.
For Harriet to kind of like sink in with.
Yeah.
And then my heart just breaks at that taxi scene driving away.
When Harriet says she's not going to cry as she's already crying.
Yeah.
Her face is like completely wet.
The tears streaming down Gully's face too. This is hard for her. And
there was like that Mary Poppins moment where she's like, what, I'm going to go and love someone else more than you? Never.
No.
Like,
there's only one Harriet. So heartbreaking because now Harriet is living in the depths of her broken heart. She's like rereading her old notebooks. Everyone else is super down in the dumps in her spy route. The cats are taken away from the cat scat guy in one giant burlap bag. Like, what the fuck?
that's
movie.
That's Nickelodeon.
That's Nickelodeon. Frankie, who is the son of
he crashes the car,
the
right?
family. Yep, crashes the family business truck. She like spies in on Sport at the store too, because Sport is in a different socioeconomic situation than she is, and he's really struggling to pay for his groceries.
Yeah.
And Harriet steps in to pay for the amount he can't pay for. Oh, Sport, I see you dropped $1, and like puts it on the counter.
$6.75
literally
for bread, milk,
eggs,
and cheese. Like a good amount of cheese.
I don't know.
$6.75.
A block of that size cheese would be easily $20 right now. Easily.
If it were good cheese.
If it were good
for
cheese.
sure.
Oh my god. Yeah, inflation is wild. That was my note there. Like, whoa. Sport is clearly upset because he's kind of like observed in a way that he wasn't really feeling okay with being observed. He rushes out of the store with his groceries, and then we flash to school where the kids are brainstorming about the festive pageant show. Okay, another little line that adult Courtney was just like, whoop, didn't pick that up the first time as a kid. Janie suggests the Manhattan Project with the nuclear bomb, and she wants to play Oppenheimer.
Yeah, that's so cute. So not only is she like playing around, she's doing her research.
Oh yeah, she knows the scope,
the history,
the scope of what she wants to get into. Let's say, Marianne suggests a festive feast theme, which I'm not mad about. I think that's kind of cute for like 11-year-olds to do. Whatever. The dancing gravy boat at the end. And then the note, you can play the barf bag, which was like so good. Like a subtle like under, was it Harriet or one of the friends were like, you can play the barf bag.
Harriet said that.
Yeah. So now we're at Janie's house, and she's working on the stink bomb that she wants to set off.
Oh, I didn't realize that's what that was.
End of the school play.
Yeah.
Harriet's observations of Janie.
Okay, things are really clicking a lot more.
Oh, well, because you saw the stink bomb at the end, you're like, what the fuck is happening here? So Harriet's observations about her dear friend is that like her friend is so smart, and she's going to end up being like this amazingly talented, smart IQ scientist genius, or a nutcase. Which, you know, in maybe a context could make sense as playful, but the way that some of this is revealed later,
it's very mean.
Harsh, very mean.
So the mom comes in, right, and is like, what are you girls
what are you doing in here?
And it's like, isn't it balloons are being held by her bra?
Yes.
And she goes to grab it, and it explodes all over the mom.
Ugh.
And mom is freaking out.
I would be too.
And Harriet just like exits through the window.
She's like, I will leave now.
She's like, Janie's just getting like absolutely ripped a new one by her mom, and Harriet's just like,
bye.
Bye. Exits through the window. I thought that was so funny.
The mom also yells, "Is that my Veronica closet bra?"
Yeah,
which is like Victoria's Secret. So yeah, she definitely pieces out. One thing that kind of hits me at this time in the movie, that Harriet's just kind of climbing everything. Like, she sees a ladder, I'm going to climb on that. She sees some makeshift furniture kind of like lying around, I'm going to build a ladder and climb on that.
Yeah.
She's hopping through windows, she's jumping over roofs. So she makes this kind of like makeshift ladder outside Sport's house. And nearly dies basically as this thing crumbles underneath.
Before that happens, she's watching Sport and his dad
through
the window,
on him.
And Sport is like goofing off, and his dad is loving it. So she's seeing that Sport is poor and has a single dad, but he's got a really great relationship with his dad.
Something that she's just like, what is this? I want this. This is different. It's really
like his dad
sweet.
pays attention to him, and they're a team.
So we're introduced to Sport's home life.
Yeah.
Dad is a writer. And Harriet makes a comment that her dad would call his dad a starving artist. And I wrote AKA poor.
Yeah.
And Sport kind of retorts with like, who's starving? I cook, I clean, I do the books.
Yeah. So he is the 11-year-old maid, bookkeeper,
chef,
cook.
Yeah. Really takes care of his dad, which is so age inappropriate.
Well, he is like, he is barely getting a childhood. Like, it's, he plays with the other kids and he has the time and stuff like that. But his dad is loving, and he does, but there's
some weight on this kid's shoulders that isn't really shouldn't be there.
He shouldn't have. Yeah, for sure.
That accounting like book that he pulls out is incredible. I'm taking inspiration really from his beautiful spreadsheet.
I had to go to school for years to learn how to do that.
Friggin' 11-year-old.
Yeah.
So he has a lot of responsibilities at home that are typically, you know, reserved for adults. And again, we get to see this like the really different home life compared to herself. Same with Janie. So we then watch Harriet break into someone's house. And by the looks of it, it's like a very wealthy house. A dog is being dropped off from probably a groomer. And the dog's name is Wee Wee.
Can you explain to me why she's going into this house?
No
what
clue.
it is? Okay, because I was like watching it, paying attention, and I'm like, why?
No, I have no other idea other than to have Eartha Kitt be an act like a bit of a cameo.
Yeah, for sure.
So Harriet hides. So she is able to break in. She hides in the dumbwaiter and manages to sneak her way through the house via the dumbwaiter. And then we are introduced to the legend, the icon, Eartha Kitt. And she is the owner of the house.
She never gets out of bed.
No, she is a comfy, plush, privileged lady who has people do her bidding. She's in the standing realm.
Huge room with like the double French doors. This huge like California king bed, silk, satin, like
luxury
drapes all around, and she's the world's tiniest woman in the middle of this bed. I just love it. Yeah, you never get out of bed, darling.
Harriet is then caught because she makes some noises, and the maid freaks out and screams. And Harriet is really upset. She's like, a good spy never gets caught.
That's what Gully said, a good spy never gets caught. And she is totally almost at rock bottom now.
Yeah.
She's just like emotionally and stuff, and everything, you know, is changing.
Yeah. Everything's changing. She doesn't feel like she's doing well in her passion. And then we cut to school where the kids are making fun of Marion again. Particularly, Marion wrote an article in the paper, and they're making fun of it. And the friends convince Harriet to come play in the park instead of going to do her spy duties. Yep.
And this, I thought this was going to be a positive turning point in the movie. Yeah. And it felt like it was.
Oh, but it is definitely the time where we realize that rock bottom is a couple floors down still.
Yeah.
So Marion, and I love this part of the movie so much, she's like, let's play the game by the Volvo.
Yeah.
I did not pick this up as a kid, but she's like, I'll be the car dealer, and you can all play the couples looking to buy an affordable vehicle.
Yeah. It's so funny. Like, Marion is weird, too.
Yeah, she's definitely weird.
Yeah.
I think we would have been friends. I must admit that. Because I used to play this game called University Girl, where I would wear my mom's blazers, and I would have the backgammon set that was a briefcase, and I would dump out all the pieces, and I would throw like papers and pencils and like a calculator in there, and I would pretend to go to university and take notes and go to lectures, and it was just like the most fun. So I think Marianne and I might actually play well together. The casual R word thrown in there. Did you catch that?
No, I don't.
Oh, Harriet just like throws out the R word, and the 90s is, I guess, just
I mean, I think people were not on the radar of that until the Black Eyed Peas made it kind of. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Where are you going with this? Go on.
There was a Black Eyed Peas song.
Let's get it started. Oh, right.
And everyone was using it until they rightfully had to change the lyrics of that song. And at least for me, until then, I didn't.
That was a cultural
moment.
Not,
yeah, huge for sure.
Wild.
People are like, oh, okay,
oh.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Oh, we shouldn't say that. Okay, cool. Yeah. And so the group is arguing about what game to play, and they all agree on bumper tag, which is a classic recess staple, I must say. And the nostalgic high that I got from watching them like run around shoving each other.
Around. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
so
it was fun. It was really fun.
To be 11 again and just get thrown to the ground and then just like hop right back up. I'm like, oh my God, I'd stay down there if that was me now.
Had to recover for 15 minutes after shoveling. Like, I was huffing and puffing from shoveling snow today.
So no bumper tag later?
No. But yeah, that energy of just like,
So the kids start running, screaming, pushing each other. And like you, many of us audience is like, oh, this is sweet. They are all getting together, all having fun.
She's connecting. She's realizing, maybe coming out of the fantasy a little bit and like, but still like connecting with other kids. Yeah.
So much so that she loses track of her notebook, and the notebook gets like thrown, and she continues playing, which is really unique for her to like let that guard down a bit. Marion sees the notebook, locks eyes with it, picks it up, starts reading it, time fucking stops as Harriet realizes that she does not have her notebook, and rightfully freaks out a little bit about it because she's like, oh shit, there is stuff in there that should not be for other people's eyes.
It's basically her diary, right? Everyone writes shitty stuff in their diary. This is actually really triggering for me because this pretty much happened to me when I was a kid. So there was a brief time when my mom, my stepdad, and I lived in a condo, and there was like a little playground at the condo, and the only other kids in the condo complex were like these two brothers that lived next to me that were my age and younger. And I had my book bag with me, and I had like left it to the side at the playground, and I was like on the swings by myself.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time by myself as a kid. And they went into my bag, took my diary out, and they were reading it. And I had like, not because I was a lonely kid, so there wasn't a lot of like bully stuff in there, but I had crushes.
Secrets.
So there was like boys that I had crushes on and stuff, and they were like reading it like, oh, who's that? Who's that?
Oh,
blah blah blah.
Absolute panic.
He's so like you and then they were like holding it away. They wouldn't like give it back to me.
Oh,
it was
when I was multi-leveled. Not only
I actually feel a little bit sick talking about it.
We might have a break.
Watching it, I was like, so at first I was like, that little bitch Marion snags this notebook doing this, and then as we go, I'm like, oh, this is actually a really bad look for Harriet.
This is not good. This is not good at
so
all.
It wasn't quite the same, but it was, it sucks when that happens.
Oh, 100%. Especially just like you have such this blind faith of like, this is my private business.
I don't know, especially it also being like boys I barely knew.
Oh.
Like, I don't know, something about like if it were like girls that were my friend or like.
It might be different, but still there's like this very raw fear of being exposed. And then the way that they like held it away from you, it was also that. Ugh, I feel for you. That is
violating. Yeah.
That is terrible. So we see Marianne essentially on the bench with all of the kids sitting or like standing, hovering around her as she's going through this list. And like I said at the beginning, Harriet is not holding back. There are some really hurtful things that she's making about
me realizing that beginning monologue is connecting back into the plot in such a huge way. Because I was like, okay, that's, she's narrating, not even thinking about it. And then as it's coming back and they're reading through this list of everything she said.
Like, oh no.
Whoopsie.
Whoopsie daisy. And you know what? Clearly, all the kids are really hurt about what Harriet said.
Purple socks boy?
Oh my god. And the way that he like pulls his pants down to hide his purple socks because he doesn't talk, right? Like that was the whole thing.
He has tried to talk a few times. There was like scenes in school where he put his hand up and just wasn't speaking out, and other kids were yelling, and then Harriet's comments about people's bodies and their home lives or something like that. And then the tide really starts to fucking turn when Marianne starts to read the receipts about Sport and Janie. Well, because at first Janie's like standing up for her, like, hey, stop it, give it back. This isn't cool, like, lay
off, basically.
And then Marianne finds the thing that she said about Janie.
Yeah,
and
reads it out.
And Janie walks over and she's like, I'm on their side now.
That simple move of like leaving the trio, and like joining the pack was like gut-wrenching to watch. But what was even, in my opinion, like really worse is when sports comments basically came out, and Harriet's comments about being poor, and
because it's also something that he kind of hides, right? Like it's not, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's so much heavier than just this like bullying or just this like kids, like maybe they don't understand how much heavier it is, but he has an understanding that they don't have.
Exactly.
And that was
the weight that Harriet felt kind of like crush her at that moment when she realizes Sport's gone too.
Well, it's not all a fantasy, right?
No,
either. It's not. You're not a spy.
Yeah.
Like,
no, you're not.
You're playing. You're doing that, and that's great. But like, words have weight, and maybe your super mean notebook should stay at home in your drawer.
Not just like casually coming around you at all points. Because to be fair, like there's a lot of merit in having a journal and like getting your thoughts out, externalizing all that crap that's floating around in your head.
Because everyone's having thoughts like that. It's not that she's a bad person because she's thinking, whatever.
But I think what really hits her heart is exactly what you just said. This is not a game. This is not make-believe. These are people's lives. These are people's feelings. And to like use their troubles, let's say, as kind of fuel for her fantasy, really comes crashing down. So she is fully ousted, social outcast supreme. She locks herself in her room. She's really missing Gully right now. And it was really hard to watch because clearly she doesn't fully understand what the fuck is going on. Like, she doesn't understand consequences. As a privileged kid, she doesn't understand.
It's so fair. There's so much changing right now. And she's 11 and she doesn't have support.
Yeah.
Like, her support structure has been ripped out.
Yeah.
And
what's
she's
left over
like,
is...
she doesn't have the emotional maturity or understanding to navigate what's going on.
And to be fair, I think the parents are obviously aware that something's going on.
They're observing her, but they're doing absolutely nothing.
Do you need anything, honey? I'm fine, Mom. Okay, bye.
Like, yeah, that's another thing is, like, the mom wanted Gully gone so badly, and then Gully leaves, and now the mom is not momming.
No.
Like, the mom has not stepped in
at all
to provide care, like, to her 11-year-old child.
Going through hell on earth. And the mom... Okay, we don't...
You sounded like Kermit the Frog there.
Okay,
so... No, that's what we can move on, but...
These read a book.
Clueless pieces of...
You're
shit.
Rich. Go fucking hire someone to teach you. Right. So we're back in school, we're back in class, and her friends are ignoring her.
I mean, yeah.
And I wrote, to be fair, understandable.
Yeah.
Like,
honestly.
She noticed the kids passing notes around, laughing, looking at her, giggling, pointing. She kind of like sneakily grabs the note with her foot and brings it over.
Isolation moment. Oof. And as a kid, like, as someone who had a lot of anxiety, especially like growing up and stuff, like, I used to be sick every Monday because I had to go back to school and I was afraid nobody would like me anymore.
Baby Dakota.
And like, yeah, and like having that, so something like this never exactly happened to me, but understanding the feeling of thinking that people are doing this,
talking about you, laughing at you,
it's so isolating.
It's the social anxiety worst nightmare. Really,
man, things are coming out about me in this episode.
Super deep.
But I understand that isolation piece of like, that is so.
It's,
I mean,
cringy,
and it's, you know,
icky.
she kind of deserves it right now. Like,
ooh, this is. I think this is super intense in terms of the level of consequence that she faces, because Kid has been, you know, dodging consequences for a really long time. Like, she doesn't have the life that Sport has. She doesn't have the life that Janie has in some ways, where, you know, she really has it on easy mode, dare I say. Albeit there's challenges, as we all do, but she's a privileged kid. And she's kind of having all of this happening at once, which is, so she picks up the note. And the note says, Harriet M. Welsh smells, in like the biggest bold letters ever. And the heartbreak I feel for the little kiddo reading this, feeling like this smelly kid, and she goes to the washroom to wash her pits. She like smells her feet.
Okay, second movie in a row with a foot to face moment.
Right.
What is that?
We have to, it's like kind of a bingo card now for us. We
I
have
don't
to
know.
catch it in all of the movies we pick.
Foot to face. Just like Chaucer last week.
Yep. Just like sniffing it.
Yeah.
So she attempts to like wash herself. And my note here is like, to be fair, grade 6 classroom would probably stink to high fucking hell with all that pre-puberty shit going down.
Were you a stinky kid?
Probably. Let's get deep with me. Like, I really struggled with OCD as a kid.
Yeah.
Particularly, there was a Purell year where I really hurt my hands because I used a lot of Purell.
Yeah.
It lingers a little bit in adulthood here and there, but it kind of oscillated from being like really dirty and really stinky probably to being like hyper clean and hyper rigid about showers and washing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
As mental illness goes. Like, it's a wild ride.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you stinky?
No, my mom was always really pretty hypervigilant about our cleanliness and hygiene and stuff. So, like, I was using deodorant probably before I needed to be.
Well, it's also kind of like, I want to be a big kid. I want to use deodorant, or I want to shave my legs.
Oh, I was chomping at the bit to shave my legs. Are you kidding me? Now it's like,
I don't wanna.
Yeah.
Oh, that stuff gets grown out for sure. I remember when I was a kid wanting to shave my legs, and my mom would let me use her shaving cream, but she gave me a spoon to like pretend shave.
Yeah, my granny would let me. I would get to use shaving cream in the tub.
Yeah. It just felt like there was just like this desperation to be older, right?
Ugh, yeah. Youth is wasted on the young.
Oh, God damn it.
All right.
Anyways, we see the one of the best burns I've ever seen in any movie when Marion goes, "Where's your notebook, Harriet?" And Harriet goes, "I don't know, Marion. Have you looked up your butt?"
Okay, but I was
gold.
Honestly, like, as she was saying it, I knew what she was gonna say.
You saw where it was going?
Yeah, because I use that on prob all the time. I'm always like, when he asks me where something is, I'm like, have you checked up your butt? So I was on her level with that for sure.
And so thus begins this part of the movie where it is Harriet versus the pack. And we have this montage of Harriet watching her old friends and all of her classmates now build a freaking clubhouse called the Spy Catchers. And they are stalking her.
And she's like up in a tree, like in the same backyard watching them. But they are after her for sure. And quick note on clubhouses. I grew up in a neighborhood with we had a gang, Highland Park gang. You know who you are. There was a lot of us. Like we would like after dinner ride our bikes past like each other's houses to like say that it was time to come outside.
cue the launch.
So but we always wanted to have like a clubhouse in there was like a park in the neighborhood, and we had a pretty big patch of woods like behind the park. And the farthest we ever got was a couple of stolen nails and pieces of wood and hammers and stuff from various dads' garages in the neighborhood. We got a few planks up.
Damn.
Like probably not even a foot off the ground. So that was as far as we ever could get, because the actual task of building a structure as a kid with no knowledge of building and
really.
You have to steal the tools and the supplies. It's a lot harder than you think, but yeah, we used to start fires up there too sometimes.
Oh my god, I would start so many fires. And
yeah, you were pyro.
I was a bit of a pyro, and I got grounded so many times for starting fires too close to the house.
Do you remember that whole conversation we had at Beer Fest about women being more likely to be
pyromaniacs? Yes, we had this like very extensive like highbrow intellectual conversation about our theories of like women breaking out of that nuclear heavy patriarchal oppression. Oh, so good. Anyway,
burning it to the ground.
Burn it to the ground, Marianne.
We're not condoning it. We're just talking about it.
I am. Burn it down. So we have that montage, and basically it's a huge yikes moment for Harriet because she's like, oh shit.
Okay, but when the kids are like chasing her around,
scary.
They were actually threatening.
Yeah,
like I felt really like I wasn't scared, but I was like, that is scary.
I literally wrote, classmates terrorize her with pots and pans on roller skates, and they stalk her throughout the city and totally disrupt her spy route.
Yeah.
Which is another like huge blow, because another element of a very familiar, comforting part of her routine is just gone. So the police catch her, roof hopping, because probably illegal, dangerous, whatever.
I mean, you shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, you're
and
11.
like, who's watching you?
Yeah, right. Gully's gone. Okay, parents are just like, well, I wonder where she is.
Yeah.
So the police officer takes her back home, and now we're like eye to eye with Harriet on the couch, getting the lecture of her life.
But we're not eye to eye because her parents and they're walking around
pacing,
and it's that point of view of Harriet, like they're not coming to her level.
Oh, we are, but
she
they
can
aren't.
see the waist and stuff, and they're walking around.
Yeah.
And I just I felt like that was a really good device that they use, like from a direct like that point of view, like really puts you in that you're seeing again. Like nobody's connecting to her on her level.
No one understands.
They're
her.
Not budging.
No,
right?
No. And the parents are trying to quote parent at this point, but they're really bad at it.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
No idea. So they take away her only form of safety, belonging, whatever. They rip away her notebook. She's actually sitting on it, and she's like, "Try and take it from me." And he's like, "I'll move you," which I thought was like really threatening, right?
Yeah.
She rips into them hard. She lays out all the receipts as to why they're bad parents. And the parents kind of have this moment of like, oh shit, she's right, but don't want to like get caught up in it, and she stomps away.
Well, she's being a bad kid, and they don't get why she's being bad.
Stop being bad. It's like, well, no, I'm really sad and scared. Everything is falling away from me. And her parents just think she's being, I don't know, a bad kid, like you said.
She's acting out. She's being bad. Punish her.
Yeah, we need to punish. And so they remove that last piece of her identity and safety, and the teacher's on it too now. Like,
yeah, she gets a fully padded down.
Oh yeah,
which is not.
She's not allowed to bring any kind of contraband, notebook-esque anything into that classroom. So she's not safe or comfortable or
anywhere
herself anywhere now, and she's seething about it. Now we're in this like art class, and they're all painting I don't know,
The one kid is in the middle, like pretending to be posing as
like the thinking man.
Yeah. And then the rest of them have like one bucket of paint each and are just like
it's all blue.
Yeah.
While everyone else is painting, Harriet is doing some research on persecution and witch hunts, which I thought was apt. Yeah. And whispers start flying. She starts to pick up on it, and it goes around like wildfire, where these kids are like, and a classmate purposefully spills paint.
It's Marion's right hand man, right?
And
I can't remember her
she
name.
goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry, it was an accident." And everybody gets up to help. That is a panic mode and a half when everybody's hands were like grabbing her.
I felt so sick at this part when all the other kids are putting their hands on her. I felt really, really like violated. Like, it's so,
because she's screaming, "Stop, stop, help me, help me." And the teacher's like, "That's right, everybody pitches in to lend a hand." And
are you insane?
Yeah, it's like aggressive. It's like I feel sick to my stomach thinking about it.
Yeah.
And Marion sneaks up and spills another can of paint all down Harriet, and she gets the shit slapped out of her.
No, she punches her in the face, doesn't she?
It was a huge slap because you can see the handprint. And she bolts. Harriet bolts out of there after she punch slaps Marion. And she runs home, and you can just see her like having this like terrible panic cry. And then there's like this very like dark moment where she's staring at her reflection in the tub, and you can see the blue paint all over her, and it's like this very visceral moment of being utterly alone. And it's like, is she gonna drown herself? Like, that's the kind of like thought.
Well, this is what I mean when I said this is not what I was expecting from this movie. Like, I thought it was going to be like a fun child heist romp.
Yeah.
And it gets so intense. I honestly don't know if young me could have handled this. Like, the feelings that this has brought up for me as an adult watching it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know that young Dakota would have been able to handle the stress of this movie. Yeah.
And just like watching the utter pain, desperation, panic, this feeling of aloneness she had. And she goes in the water and she kind of floats there for a little bit, and then she has this moment. Then we see her kind of like all dry in her room out of getting into the tub, and she's just ripping up every single one of her old notebooks. And you see the history in these books, like these drawings like a little 7-year-old would do. And that really just shows me that this is a massive part of her life, these notebooks, and just how much of a friend they have been to her that entire life that she's been doing this. Ugh, it was heartbreaking. And she's just like crying and ripping them up, and she's exhausted. Just utterly exhausted. Because like the social pressure at school, the family pressure of not feeling seen and heard, and her identity.
I'm not even remembering that Gully like left at this point. Like there's so much
that's
loss. The base of it, but there's so much going on.
Yeah.
That it's like that's not even like
half of it. Yeah.
Yeah, big deal anymore at this point.
So then we cut back to school, and all of the kids are reading Hamlet, which I find strange. Like,
they're too young for that.
Age inappropriate much?
Yeah, that's a grade 11.
There's some themes there that, if I could remember what Hamlet was about, maybe it ties in with the story, but I'm not going to think too deep about it.
This is actually a modern adaptation of Hamlet.
And you hear Harriet carving names into her desk with that compass that you get in that mathematician set as a kid. And she is going hard on writing every kid's name that she is going to seek revenge on. This is the revenge list. Which, side note, where's the teacher in this? Like, what are you doing?
Oh, she's like out having a smoke break.
Smoke while the kids are reenacting Hamlet. So let's begin the list of revenge, shall we? Mm-hmm. She slices off, like cuts off a kid's fucking ponytail. Like, some of these are heavier than others, for sure.
I literally, because what's number 2? Tell me what number 2 is.
Just vandalizing a classmate's locker.
Yeah, so vandalizing a locker and cutting off someone's ponytail are not the same level of revenge.
The same level of revenge.
Not the same at all.
And neither of them are Marion. Like,
cut Marion's ponytail off. What are you doing?
So the next one is quite awful too. So the one young kid who has the boobs and puberty happening a little bit earlier than everybody else. Harriet wrote some nasty things about her, but she steals her bra and hoists it up the flagpole as revenge on her part, which is dark. She sabotages Janie's important science experiment. And again, the next one is like, oh, I'm going to, take a little linchpin out of your popsicle stand, Castle.
Oh, yeah. He's like, playing and she like knocks over that.
Like,
yeah,
I'm
that's
sure,
nothing.
pretty sure one is a crime, like the hair
Yeah.
cutting thing, and the other one's like,
Did you say one's a hate crime?
yeah, like what's a crime?
Yeah.
And then she utterly humiliates Marion in the bathroom, like cuts her so deep.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. So this scene has definitely burned into my brain since I was a kid, where the girls are giggling and doing that classic public bathroom school kid thing where you're wetting toilet paper and like smacking it on the ceiling.
Their bathroom looks like it's in a prison, though.
That looked like my bathroom.
Are you serious?
Oh, for
At
sure.
school? The
Yeah.
sinks in the
sinks.
middle?
Yep, we had that. Where you had to like put your
Oh.
foot on it to like turn it on.
I have never seen that.
Wild. No,
Mm-mm.
that's what my bathroom definitely. We lived. Our school was really old. Like it was from the late 1800s.
Was it a big school?
Well, it was one of the only rural schools in the area.
Yeah,
So,
my school was pretty new.
Did you have a locker at all in public school?
A locker?
Yeah. We only got those in high school.
Oh no, I had a locker from kindergarten. Yeah.
A kindergartner locker.
I
That's
know.
so cute.
Like grade 1, not
Cubby, like
kindergarten.
it's a cubby or a locker.
We had cubbies in kindergarten, then in grade 1 starting we had lockers. When you're little, they were the half ones.
Yeah, I had that in grade 9.
No, and then in high school, grade 9, grade 10, you would get half lockers, and then when you're grade 11 and 12, you
got
would
the
get the
biggies.
big ones.
Ooh.
But some very lucky younger kids, like grade 9, grade 10, would get a full-size locker.
The lottery.
Which I did. I did get in grade 10, I got a full-size locker.
I had a half locker. I had the bottom one, and I was always paired because they were alphabetical, right? So we were assigned lockers alphabetically, and so
Ours weren't.
Oh,
Yeah.
the guy above me,
Yeah.
we were always paired together because our names always lined up with each other in school, and I just had like the biggest crush on him for years, and never really realized it until like, I don't know, 10 years ago. I was like, oh no, I was in love with him for a very long time and did not notice, and to the point where in grade 12 I didn't have a prom date or anything like that, and I locked eyes with him in the hallway. I was like, do you want to go to prom? And he was like, yeah, sure. I'm like, great, pick me up at this time. Very non-prom proposal, but I asked my grade 9 crush out to prom in grade 12.
And he went with you?
Yeah, it was really cute. Anyways, back to the movie. Harriet humiliates Marion in the bathroom in front of all the other girls. Quote, "You don't have a father. Your father abandoned you. He lives in Amsterdam. And you know why, Marion? Because he doesn't love you." Holy shit. That was dark.
But also, I feel like that's how Harriet feels about her own dad.
Yeah, there's
right?
a little projection
like,
going on there.
For sure, she's projecting. Yeah.
And then, again, the level of revenge on sports.
Oh no. This is so. Yeah, it's. If I were sport, I wouldn't. I might forgive her a little bit, but we would never be friends again after she did this. No.
The disproportionate level of revenge in all these people. And so, in an earlier scene in the movie, Sport's wearing like this cute little maid outfit because he has to clean the house.
It wasn't even a full maid outfit. He's wearing like a frilly apron.
Yeah.
Right, and then he's holding like a duster or something.
Yeah. And Harriet's like, take a picture, and she like snaps a photo of him. And she prints out that photo on multiple posters that it's just photocopies of Sport in that the outfit. That's
it was more the pose, right? It's
yeah,
like he's got the
curtsying.
apron on and he's curtsying. So it's more that like that effect of it, yeah.
But the line underneath, man of the house.
Oh yeah, disgusting.
Ew. And again, that's the 90s. There's no room for any kind of other forms of expression of whatever, but oof. And it really, really hurts Sport, obviously. But Harriet doesn't give a shit, or does she? Maybe there's some guilt. We kind of just see her kind of reckon with like, how big has this become for me? I'm too deep.
She's in too deep now. She's like, this is me now.
Yeah, this is me now. So she's clearly going through it still. Her parents are questioning her about her actions because at this point, the revenge list.
Every parent is calling them, right?
The phone was ringing off the hook at that house, and which finally prompts the parents to go, we need help, and take Harriet to a therapist.
Yeah.
And I totally forgot about this entire part of the plot because I've done play therapy all the time with kids. Like when I worked in private practice, that was my job, and I loved it. We would play games because play is the language of kids.
She opens the cupboard and it's like full of games. She's like, what, you sit here and play all day? Like...
And I'm like, yeah, I get paid a lot of money to play games, actually.
Yeah.
And so the therapist actually is the first one, maybe since Golly, to actually listen and try to understand Harriet. And he gives her a new notebook that she's allowed to use in sessions with him. And so we see, you know, Harriet getting picked up by her parents, and they have this kind of moment where Harriet's like, well, what did he say? And her dad said something genuinely sweet, that you're a smart, kind, lovely kid. And I think some other hard truths that the therapist really laid down that we didn't get some privy to.
Yeah, and that you're going to be, like, successful one day, or you're going to be a really good writer. And
but
there was also, like, the hesitation with the dad, where they were kind of, like, finally reckoning with the, like, there is nothing wrong with her.
No.
It's like environmental. It's like all circumstantial of this kind of buildup and this ripping out from under her of support and all this shit not having. Yeah. And so they're having that moment of like, oh, this is like our fault.
Well, yeah, you kind of got this look on the mom's face as they're walking across the street where I think the therapist had some pretty intense things to tell them that they needed to make some serious changes or they're going to lose this kid. Not like in the sense of lose, but she's going to go off the rails a little bit more, really. So there's this really important scene where Harriet's in bed and mom comes in and gives her notebook back. And, you know, both parents in different ways at this time try their hardest to actually, you know, spend time with her, play with her,
playing
listen
with the dad, and the mom's like tucking her in and like
trying
spending
to
time
understand
with
her, like real effort. We finally get to see.
And have you noticed we're seeing their faces on her level for the first time in the whole movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good point. I did not notice that.
Yeah.
Dad's sitting with her on the stairs. Mom is on the bed with her, really making an effort. Good point. Damn, didn't notice that. Okay. So, cue Blast from the Past. Gully comes back.
Gully's back.
Gully is back. And she's here to lay down some truth, for sure. So Gully and Harriet are talking, catching up, but they're talking about the differences between good lies, bad lies, taking accountability, you know, being yourself, owning it, but not being a dick about it.
Gully's giving her advice on how to, you know, try to navigate fixing things with her classmates.
Yeah, right? Really stay true to Harriet and pay the cost of being Harriet.
That's what she basically says, right? Stay true to you, stay true to Harriet, but you have to accept, you know, you have to deal with the consequences of your actions and what you have done. And she said you have two options, right? You're not going to like either of them.
Yeah. Classic.
Yeah. And it's just basically like you have to back down and you have to apologize and you have to just be really vulnerable with that, right?
And like, you're a spy, you've got some fight in you. Like, it was really encouraging. It was lovely to see Gully back, but also she's like, I'm gonna leave now, bye. You can't stay for much longer. And she's like, no, kid, you're on your own here. Like, it's important for you to do this. And so we see various attempts, like Harriet goes to Janie, tries to apologize, but not really.
See, this whole thing where she's like going to she doesn't actually apologize to anyone.
No, she just kind of attempts to go back to normal.
She tries, and then on the other side of the door she says, I'm sorry. And then she does it to Sport. She tries, and then on the other side of the door she goes, I'm sorry. And whether they heard her or not, I don't know. But I was really disappointed by the level of effort that she really puts in.
Yeah. Well, she's 11.
No, I know, but it's like she didn't apologize. She didn't apologize to anybody.
No. She tried to like buddy it. But there's some serious things that were done that cannot necessarily just go back to normal as a result of a failed attempt to apologize.
Another thing I had. So you were talking about in the beginning how someone called her an individual.
Yeah,
it was Gully. She said you're an individual, and that makes people nervous.
Yeah,
and it's gonna always make people nervous.
And which is a really important thing to hear, because it's not sunshine and rainbows when you're being yourself. Conflict, people not liking you, that's a normal part of life. And
letting go of all that, though, and just embracing who you are is so much better than trying to fit yourself in the box of what you think other people want you to be.
Yeah, and Harriet got to experience that at 11, where most of us are like still going through it. She's
going to be the most well-adjusted adult like ever.
Hopefully. We just see this like grown woman who's 35 roof hopping and doing some weird shit. Get a sneak peek.
That's called parkour.
Parkour.
I'm sure that there are 35-year-old women out there that
Apologies
do that.
to
the
parkour community. I don't want to glaze over the fact that Sport's dad made it big. He sold his book, his novel.
Yeah.
And he got the the paycheck that they were both
right when
needing.
she went to apologize.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that was like right when that was happening.
Big props.
Yeah, they're gonna go to the fanciest restaurant in town.
And fuck spaghetti, let's eat steak.
Yeah, so good.
Oh, so cute.
Yeah.
So we get to see Harriet semi-attempt an apology, but fail in both of the two relationships she really wanted to mend. But then we also kind of see the Spy Hunter Club slowly falling apart.
There's dissension in the ranks, for
definitely.
sure. Yeah.
The dictatorship of Marion is slowly falling apart, and it has a lot to do with the quality of cake that's being delivered.
The portions that Marion, like, that's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
The amount. I do love, it was Sport, right? Who, like, he's like, I'm not sticking around for this. And he grabs a handful of it.
Yeah.
Straight from the cake on his way out. I thought that was great.
Sport is the best. Okay. We're back in school again, and Harriet suggests that the editor of the school paper should change. And the way she does it, you could see her, she's like sitting up straight, she's calm, she's collected, she raises her hand slightly, and she suggests that it should change. And then it's Purple Socks Guy.
Which I found really unbelievable, personally.
In what way?
She has made no attempt to apologize to him, and he's the one that she said should kill himself.
Yeah.
And he's the first one to vouch for her.
And this is
like, stand up for her and be like, you know.
Well, this is my gripe with the movie, is that all of a sudden, just like that, she fails two forms of an apology, and everybody's all of a sudden being like, well, hey, let's bury the hatchet, guys. She has not done any kind of accountability.
I feel like it would have been what I thought was going to happen in that moment was that she was going to get up at the front of the class and she was going to apologize to everybody.
No, it's her saying, I want the editor position is the reason why everyone's like, you know what? She has changed.
Yeah.
No, she's still definitely kind of thinking about herself. But later on, we find out that she's using the editor position to apologize to a degree, I guess.
Yeah, sure. I mean, they didn't know that, though.
No, they did not.
So.
But Purple Socks Guy nominates Harriet to be the editor, and he says, I would like to read what she has to write. And Sport and Janie back him up with the second and third nominations. So in a rather quick turnaround, I wrote, the class then votes to have Harriet be the editor, including Harriet. She votes for herself.
Yeah.
So what I do find interesting in this part of the movie, Harriet starts to write as Harriet, not as the spy.
Right.
And so,
yeah, she's kind of coming out of the spy like thing and
persona,
and being more open about her observations and being more grounded in herself. Yeah. Right? Like,
and if she wants to
be a writer. She's no longer Harriet the Spy.
No. If she wants to be a writer, she's going to have to learn how to write her truth and her perspective and her observations in a way that feels true to her while also not being an asshole about that. It's
I mean, not to people you care about.
That's for sure. So there's a difference between looking at stuff and really seeing it. To see it, you have to take a closer look. Some stuff is fixable and some stuff is meant to fall apart, which I thought was a really, really powerful line for an 11-year-old. And she begins to write positive stories about her classmates, and she takes accountability of her actions through the editor position. And writing on that old school typewriter.
Love it.
Love it.
Oh, the click and the clack.
The click and the clack.
Writing.
Ooh.
And the feeling of pushing down on the I love writing on a typewriter.
But the mistakes are
very
difficult to navigate.
Yeah.
So the movie is kind of approaching its end with this incredibly boring pageant as Dakota yawns.
I'm so sorry. I turned away. I was like trying to be.
It was very
good timing.
It was subtle, but not so subtle. But so it's finally time for the festive pageant to happen, and they obviously went with the dinner ingredient scene.
I love it.
Where they're all different forms of vegetables. There's a gravy boat, and it's like super boring at first with classical music and kind of like ballet-esque dancing. But then James Brown, Get Up Off of That Thing, starts playing, and the kids in all of their Thanksgiving food costumes start to dance and have fun. They're doing limbo with like the giant turkey baster. Harriet is having a blast being herself with her renewed sense of self and that sense of like reconciliation with her friends and classmates. And of course, Janie's stink bomb goes off without a hitch, and it clears the auditorium. And the full circle for Dakota now hitting her as to what the stink bomb was actually going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the movie closes with the three kids just dancing. Yeah, dancing and not being fazed at all by the stink bomb whatsoever. And you know what? I wrote, The kids are dancing alone on the stage, which is a true demonstration of friendship healed. A little bit of baloney bullshit.
And that's the end.
That's the end of the movie.
Wow, what an intense movie.
I
Honestly.
totally forgot how intense it was.
It's really intense.
Like nostalgia, thinking back on it. Because obviously I haven't seen this in maybe 20 years. And rewatching it was a delight because there are elements of it where I'm like, yes, there's my comfort movie.
Yeah.
But as an adult, I'm like, damn, this was heavy.
35% of the movie.
Gold.
So just so fun and joyful.
Light.
And like, yeah. You know, it took a turn that I wasn't expecting. I think it was extremely important. For me too, watching it for the first time as an adult, like as far as kids movies go, like it was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was so good. I was talking to my friend yesterday about it, and he'd never seen it before. And I was like, watch it once.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's worth it. I personally will probably never watch it again.
Me neither.
I don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Maybe.
But I'm really happy that I saw it.
Cool.
Yeah, I really am. I got a lot out of that movie.
Nice. Yeah. And like you said, there's going to always be maybe a little part of me that's not quite sure if I'll rewatch it again, but I definitely don't need to watch it in the way that I used to watch it. Obviously.
Well, I would hope not.
I go home and watch it every night. I am Harriet. I have no social skills.
Well, that's...
Shut up. So how should we rate this movie?
Magnifying glasses? Or
stink
what
bombs?
do you think? Stink bombs. Ooh.
Marion slaps to the face.
Ooh.
Bad parenting out of 10. How many gullies out of 10?
How many gullies out of 10? That's really hard for me. Oh no! Okay, I have to go first. 6.5.
Ooh, okay. What's the rationale there?
The rationale is, although I thought it was really important and a really great movie, I was uncomfortable for a lot of it. It was a bit difficult for me, which is not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There were times where I was like, oh, this is bringing stuff up.
Yeah.
So I really liked it. I'm not going to watch it again. 6.5, maybe 7, because it wasn't like, if I think back to being a kid and if I would have seen it as a kid, it wouldn't have been one that I watched.
That stuck for you.
No, because it was too intense.
Too close. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my reasoning.
Fair. Absolutely fair. I think I'm going to go with
6.5 and the top half.
So yeah, the first 35, really.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with 8.5 out of 10. The writing is pretty great. The gully liners, so good.
Yeah.
I thought the coming of age aspect was really important. And again, like I think
the puberty was so real.
Real.
Yeah.
And again, like I come back to this idea of, being the strange kid. And I think everybody might feel like they're the strange kid. In their own way, which I think is why maybe some of us are drawn to more movies or not.
I love
Sticking my legs straight up in the air. It needs to stretch.
Yeah.
I'm going 8.5 out of 10 gullies because I felt so tickled again watching this movie. I felt heavy watching this movie. I felt for Harriet in this movie because definitely in my own experiences of navigating friendships and taking accountability and doing bad stuff and not really knowing why people were mad. And I think the only reason why it's not a 10 out of 10 is because Eartha Kitt didn't come back nearly as much as I wanted her to.
Would have loved to see
a little bit.
Yeah.
And the quick turnaround of all of a sudden we're back on Harriet's team.
Yeah, I think that's another thing for me where if you're gonna drag me to the depths of despair like that, I think that and she did so much, I think there should have been a more real tangible resolution of let me see her really apologize and really try to be better, perhaps a moment between her and Marion of truce or whatever, a thing with her and Janie and a hug or something, a little bit more of a reckoning, because I feel like it spent so much of the movie just really tearing everything from her and bringing her to the bottom and doing all this. It just really felt kind of like at the end I was like, really? Like, that's it?
I know. And that, like, as you were saying that, part of me thinks that like maybe her capacity and ability to apologize through the newspaper was all she could do.
Yeah, but she's a fictional character.
True.
I feel like it would have been beneficial to show the audience
a real
sucking, you're putting your pride aside and apologizing, not necessarily getting up in front of the class and doing a big speech or whatever, but in some manner that was more than what exactly, more meaningful.
The resolution was not proportional to the depths of wreckage, really, that everybody went through.
Yeah, and I think that was a big thing for me.
Oh, okay. I am so glad you enjoyed it.
I loved it. I really, really did. When I was watching it, I was like, I texted you. That was the only thing I said. I was like, this movie has me in a vice.
Yeah, and I'm like, really, a good one?
That's the only kind, I
think.
Only kind. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I think, thank you for listening so far. I think we're moving on to the next part of our podcast. Yeah.
It's my pick.
Pick the next movie.
Oh my gosh. Where are my...
In classic fashion, we do not have the slips again.
Well, I think that's your hat over there. Is mine under it?
Oh, okay. Hold on.
I only have 4. I don't even remember what.
Ooh, this
like
is
at this point, I don't know what's in there. But I feel like after this one, I should replenish. Like I should have more than 3 in there.
Yeah. Okay, ready?
I'm scared. I hope it's good.
Here we go. You don't get to find out. Sorry, but we do. So. Oh. Okay, show me.
Okay. This is what like. Have you seen this?
No.
Oh my god. This is one of my...
I've never heard of it.
Oh, it is so campy. It's one of my very favorites.
Okay.
Prob will tell you that he's seen it 100
times. Oh my god. Again, a movie that one of us hasn't seen.
Twice in a row so early. That's so crazy.
I love it. This is... okay, part of the reason for the podcast is to share movies that we love, obviously, and were meaningful for us growing up, but also to expose each other to maybe movies we've obviously never even heard of.
I'm so excited. You've never even heard of it?
No.
Oh my gosh. When you see the cast, you're going to shit.
Oh, I'm going to have one single shit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
And tune in next week. If you enjoyed that episode, please like and subscribe. Leave a review.
Please.
You can get in touch with us if you like. You can email us at
we have an email now.
newfriendscinema@gmail.ca, and you should be able to find us on Instagram at newfriendscinema.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.